right. Well, hey, Jen, great to see you today. We have joined each other to go over an interview series that we created to talk to property managers like yourselves and sort of share stories and ideas from our industry, trying to get sort of the most brilliant minds together. And we thought of you, and your business arrived. And so we'd love to just sort of talk to you a little bit and ask you some questions about your business. So thanks again for joining us this morning, and thanks for agreeing to participate in this.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right. So maybe if we can just start off by having you talk a little bit about how you got into the industry. And I know that you're based in Bend, and how'd you end up there, and how did you get into the vacation rental industry specifically with Arrived?
Yeah, so I've been in Central Oregon in Bend since 1991, so I've been here a long time. I believe it was about 17 years ago, I bought a vacation rental as an investment because it's way more fun than the stock market. So, so my
And
husband,
you can use it. You can actually have fun staying there. Yep.
so much more fun. You can see it, it's tangible.
Yep.
And this is long before vacation rentals were a thing, but we do have an area here called Sun River that's a destination resort. So there were vacation rentals there, the old flip books where you would look and see pictures of where you wanted to stay the next year and book it for the next summer, with a phone call and talking to people for a long time on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So we bought a vacation rental as an investment, my husband and I did. And had it with a property management company for about 6 months when I realized that I actually had it out on Vrbo on my own. Vrbo is small. I have a 4-digit ID
Oh
number for
yeah.
that property
Yeah. Good.
still.
Yep.
So, had it on Vrbo and then had it with a property management company. I was booking all the off-season dates. The property management company was booking the dates that were peak season.
Mm-hmm.
So I was paying them a huge percentage for those and actually getting all the revenue from the off season. And I thought, well, if I can book the summer better than they can, which is our peak season.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to do it myself since this area is about 12 miles from where I live. So started managing it myself and had 2 small kids. It turned out to be very successful. I had, I was hands-on, could do it. Vrbo worked really well. That was actually basically, I had a website, but with no SEO. There was no visual way to find it on the online back then. Kind of dabbled in SEO a little bit, but didn't have anybody helping me. So literally my bookings were off of Vrbo back in the day. Had a software that was not cloud-based. So I used 3-ring binders, which I just found the other day with all the old reservations in there.
Yeah.
3 from the very first year. I had to save that one. I didn't save anymore because I'm not a
Yes.
hoarder, but I did save that one. It was like a
Good.
memento. Come a little way. So 3-ring binder had this software that I would put the reservations into, had a separate credit card processing company that you'd log into one way. It was more mundane than spreadsheets, but
Yeah.
it was a fun thing to do. And I could talk to the guests and I knew who was coming in and out and I could see the property and make sure it was well maintained. And it went really well. So at the end of maybe the first year, we had some friends that had bought a vacation rental in Sun River and wanted us to come see their remodel, and ended up managing it for them, and that turned into the business. I said, if you're patient with me, I can get an attorney to write up a contract, and I'll help you do it. So it ended up turning into a business. I had small kids and it was obviously very cumbersome to do reservations that way. So took on like one house a year for maybe the first 4 or 5 years. I'd just take on one house. So I got to about 5 or 6 houses and the kids were in school. And then I started thinking about making things more efficient and what you could do. Then by the next year, I kind of done my research, figured out what I wanted my business to look like, what I wanted out of a software, and ended up signing up with Streamline, which I don't know if we want to talk about this or not, but considering that's how I integrate with you guys, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. No, okay. That's great. No, that's fine. That's great.
I picked Streamline, got signed up with them. It got everything set into Streamline. But when I signed up with them, I think I had maybe 7 homes. I knew I was signing up and it was going to become more efficient. So I think by the time I got done with building it out, I like, because I'd been turning people away for years, because I was successful at what I did. I
Yeah.
could do it well.
Yeah.
I had higher revenue. The homes were more cared for better than they could be with a large company. Plus,
Hmm.
I kind of knew and understood because I'd done it from the ground up what it's like to be an owner, what it's like to be a guest. So I had a really
Right.
good idea of how to make it work. I think I had about 7 homes when I signed up with Streamline. By the time I got onboarded with Streamline, I probably had 12 because by then I wasn't turning people away. And I was like, I'll be having this software, I'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I grew quickly because then I had Streamline. Streamline integrates with everything. My website's a part of
Yeah.
my credit card processing is a part of, every bit of owner statements, everything that all the accounting, everything's all in one place. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I had picked it for that reason so that I wasn't dealing with the back office part of it and it worked. So I had about 12 properties by the time I got done signing up. And then I just would double it every year for the next few years, go to 24 and then go to 48.
Wow. That's
Um,
great.
yeah. And then by then my kids were in school full time. I was tired of being even sort of involved in PTO because it turns out I'm not a PTO mom. And business was way more fun than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
I like to avoid drama. How weird. So I actually have a business partner now that I hooked up with. Then he had moved from kind of retired from a retired from sold a company in Honolulu, had moved over to Bend. He knew big business, he knew accounting, he knew HR, the things that I didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
So, and I knew vacation rentals and all the facets of that, which he didn't have experience in. So we were kind of a good team. We did acquisitions for the next few years. We bought a vacation rental company in Bend, one in Palm Springs, one in Hood River, one on Kauai, and one in Oahu. So
Oh,
that's how
great.
we ended up geographically expanding.
Yeah.
Initially was to go, okay, let's just buy a company, use the base that we have there, and then
Yeah.
grow organically after that. So staffed up, obviously to handle each acquisition, we were staffing up more and more, and got to 20, like maybe January of 2020, and we're ready to slow down on the acquisitions and move more into just organic growth and streamlining the business and making it more profitable just from a base point and
Hmm.
working on the facets of that because it takes so much to onboard a company. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, I'm down in the weeds now, probably telling way too
No,
much.
that's good. No, that's good. I was going to say, having spent time, in the software industry for a long time, it was great that you got Streamline in when you did, because that breaking point's usually at about 10 properties when people start to pull their hair out and they're like, I can't do this without some kind of software. And so it sounds like you hit that point perfectly where you still had some hair and you could, use software to help you grow even further. And it sounds like that really, it
Yeah.
helped you expand and you had that base down and all that. So that's great.
It did, and
Um,
it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was to
yeah.
put everything in one place. That was my goal. Everybody has a different goal with
Yeah.
how they want their business to look and how they want to set it up and how they want to organize it. For me, it was like I do not want to like I literally, this is back in the day, didn't hook up with Airbnb until there was a direct integration with
Correct.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
Airbnb was
Yeah.
new, it was complicated. Why would I mess with duplicate calendars?
Yeah.
And messy problems that would come with that outside of Streamline and then have to manually put it in there. So
Yeah.
it was, Streamline was integrated with Vrbo. I knew Airbnb was on the horizon and kind of went that route. It was just, I don't want to be double doing anything, one touch and
Yeah.
be done, whatever it was.
Yeah. It's hard to do in our industry, especially when it comes to all the accounting stuff that you've got to
Yes.
do, because you really are the meat in the middle in terms of the guest versus the owner. You guys are having to keep all the books, so it's highly critical that you got great software in there. So that's great. So switching gears a little bit, how did you first kind of hear about HomeToGo?
Actually, that's why I was like, I don't think I can avoid talking about Streamline. So I heard about it because I had a Streamline has teams that work with customer service. One of the team members that worked for Streamline ended up at HomeToGo, and
Oh yeah, great. Yep.
person I'd worked with him. So I knew when he had moved to HomeToGo, I believe he was maybe an independent contractor initially, and then maybe he's on staff now.
Yep.
But that was how I heard about it. So not only was HomeToGo integrated now with Streamline, he could explain to me how it worked with
Great.
Streamline,
Yeah.
and how the process worked and what it would entail. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So you heard from Michael, hey, I'm at HomeToGo, you should check this out. Or when he was at Streamline, sort of, hey, you should check out this new up and coming website, distribution website. That's great. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so you guys did use Streamline to onboard. How did that process go in terms of going in and saying, yep, I want to list our properties on HomeToGo and make that happen?
It
How
took
was
about
that?
one whole minute. It was one of the easiest integrations I've done. So kudos to you and your team, because integrations are not always easy.
Yeah.
Specifically, and it's a direct integration. I don't know if every software can handle a direct integration with you guys. I don't know, but I know
Yeah.
that Streamline has a direct integration. So
Yep.
if you get a booking channel, whatever they're called, because I don't use them. If you get somebody in the middle there,
Channel manager. Yep. Yep.
thank you.
Yes. Yes. Channel manager. Yeah.
I have
Yep.
a one channel manager for one specific purpose, and that's it. So if you have a channel manager in there, you have two integrations, which makes three teams trying to work together. There are so many more ways for that to break. So I like those direct integrations
Yeah.
where I can control it in Streamline and it pushes straight through to HomeToGo and everything's just updated, which is exactly how it went. And honestly, I mean, we literally went into Streamline and clicked a button and accepted the terms.
Oh, that's great.
Everything just pushes through.
Yeah.
It was really the easiest one we've ever done. And
That's great.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's great. I know I've talked to a lot of property managers over the years that would say, well, that's how it should work.
Mhm.
That's how they really want it to work. It's just like sort of your job. You want it to be as smooth as possible. You don't want people to know about the things you're doing in the back end, sort of like a duck swimming along the surface of the pond. You guys are working hard underneath the water, but you don't really need to see everything
yeah,
else.
yeah.
So yeah, that's great. So yeah, cool. Well, that's great. So switching gears a little bit, I know, you guys have lots of different locations, beautiful places. Can you talk a little bit about some of your best practices, being a property manager? I mean, it sounds like, you grew organically at first, and then you got into the acquisition stuff. How do you keep doing that? And how do you keep sort of guests and owners, happy? Do you have any kind of tips or tricks that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're obviously learning as we go on everything too. But 100% in 2020, when we slowed down on the acquisitions, we specifically went into, let's look at the business from the top down and the bottom up and right to left and left to right, and just look at it and see what we can do. And this was before COVID, and it was about 8 months before COVID hit. So we literally took every part of the business and went, okay, what's efficient and what's not, and what can we do to improve the processes, and what can't we? We actually were able to staff way down because we weren't doing acquisitions and having to bring in the new properties. So number one, just reviewing everything and seeing where your holes are in your process. For us, it was staffing at that point was number one. And then there were a lot of things that Streamline had brought onto the table in the last 2 or 3 years while we were doing acquisition. So as far as like technology, it's happening at record pace. So you have to slow down and look at that and go, okay, which of these tools that they've given us are we taking advantage of, and which aren't we, that could actually make our process so much more efficient? I should go back and quantify the amount of efficiencies that we were able to bring into the business over the course of the next 6 months, maybe even 4 months. It's a pretty quick process, but just looking at everything all over. So when COVID hit, we were ready to deal with COVID. It wasn't difficult. It was so much. I mean, of course it was painful and difficult. Let me rephrase that. It could have been a lot harder to deal with. We were actually like set up strategically, just coincidentally, to handle that. So we were staffed down and we were efficient, and we had a really good, strong team that all knew where we were going and what we were doing. And so we used that team to then go through the process of the little pieces like technology and all those things. And so all that to say, best practices is to stop and slow down and look at what you're doing and figure out how you can do it better on a regular basis, whether that's,
Yeah.
you know, weekly for the minutia, depending on what you're doing in your job. Maybe for, you know, somebody that's managing housekeepers, they need to be looking at that weekly. You know, whether it's me, it might be every 6 months or every quarter or every year,
Yeah.
reevaluating, you know, the bigger picture stuff. So really just looking at it and going, where can we improve? How can we grow? It's the growth mindset that we're all talking about with our kids right now, right? Like we're in a
Right.
business that's changing all the time. And I think every business, even if it's a stable business, use that growth mindset and figure out how you can grow and be better in any
Yes.
industry, in anything
Yeah.
you're.
Yeah, those are great comments. And I love your comment also about just looking at the business and then looking at the software you use, because we're in such a complicated business. We've got all these different parts to it. We buy software, pretty sophisticated software that we then use, but then you fast forward 5, 6, 7 years, you're still using the software the same that you did when you bought it.
Yeah.
And studies have shown property managers who implement software do get greater efficiencies, but I think you're right. They kind of don't keep that going. They don't go back and review 3, 4, 5 years and go, hey, what's new? What should we do? Should we, add these new features? Are we using this stuff right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What can we do to
Because
make
the people with the boots on the ground are working differently today than they were last year.
right?
So why are we not using the software differently? And
Yeah, yeah,
and maybe even switching software for someone. I don't need to switch software, but there are a lot of people that maybe would need to switch software
yeah,
because of the way they run their business and their software doesn't match what they're doing.
yeah,
Everybody is, I mean, it actually, that's one thing, just sidetrack, I love about this business is that everybody's business and best practices for me are not the same as somebody else's.
right.
Not only because of where they're located and things, but there's 100 ways to Sunday that you could run a successful vacation rental business, and one's not more right than the other. More right,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just it's just what you're looking for, what your owners are looking for, what
yep,
location you're in, what the restrictions are. There's just a million things which we've learned
yeah.
from in various places, but it's always good to remember.
Yeah, 100% agree. You're exactly right. We're in such a diverse, industry that, how you manage your business may be totally different than how somebody, across the state or down the street, is going to manage theirs. And it's not right or wrong. It just is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. Well, back to listings and sort of distribution. Do you have any sort of tips or tricks on, things like writing great descriptions or, how to make your properties kind of stand out when it comes to listing on a site like HomeToGo?
Don't look at my website. Do as I say, not as I do. If you put me under a microscope, I'm sure we have enough properties and we have not spent a ton of time. I totally know it works. Absolutely, yes. But I will tell you that what I'm going to say right now, don't go dissect my website because there are things.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
None of us is perfect. See that growth mindset. We all need it. Pictures is the hugest thing. Like if you have a picture that makes somebody want to stay there, that very first picture, that's the biggest deal. If that first picture that they see as a thumbnail on a website, whether it's HomeToGo or my own website, whatever
yeah,
they're seeing first, that first visual is hands down the most important. If it's dark, they're not going to stay there. If it's of the back of the house that doesn't have anything exciting in the yard's dead, they're not going to stay there. There's people like sunshine and pools and hot tubs and modern light things, and
right,
during COVID that modern light translated to clean in people's minds. So having pictures of new clean, we do triple sheeting now,
yeah,
whatever it is, like it needs to look new and fresh
yeah,
because people they're going to jump to that. When I traveled this year, I looked for pictures on vacation rental websites that I could tell used some version of triple sheeting, and that was before we implemented it for our, it takes a while, but you look for the things that matter to you, and right now, new, modern, clean, nice,
yeah,
clean. Did I say clean? Clean.
clean, clean, clean. Yes, yeah,
So absolutely pictures the number one. Headlines are huge too. Some, if you that first sentence in your description, that headline is huge. And it's not, people don't want fluffy, they don't want a wordy travel blog headline. They
right,
want bullet points, like comma between, a dash between. They want to know what's there. Is there
yeah,
a pool there? Is there a hot tub there? Is there air conditioning in the Northwest. Obviously Palm Springs has air conditioning, but in the Northwest,
Right.
it's not a given. So they look for certain things. So you don't need to repeat the things that are down below that they can see, or if they put in searches for 3 bedrooms, you don't need to say it's a 3 bedroom. You need to have the
Right.
things that they aren't already knowing and seeing right up front that are going to
Yeah.
attract them. What passes do you have for what pool? The things that people pay more for, put it up there. They want to see it.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, for sure. Did you yeah, that's great. I was going to make some comments about that, but I think you've definitely filled in the details. That's super.
You can totally make comments if you want. I'm good with that.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the kitchen stuff and the cleanliness stuff. I mean, it's really interesting. It's certainly like jibing with some of the data I've seen before that say sort of white kitchens tends to, you tend to do better renting white kitchens, properties with white kitchens than you do with darker kitchens. And so
Yeah.
it's probably, has something to do with that effect of feeling clean or something.
Yeah.
So that's great. Do you guys take any additional steps besides having great descriptions and good, great pictures? What do you do to sort of ensure the guest has a good time and, their expectations are set, and then they hopefully will write a great review about you guys? Do you have any tips or tricks on how to satisfy the guests during their stay and then hopefully afterwards getting a good review?
Yeah. So number one is just being friendly in the communication. I think we have our reservations team is the same as our guest services team. And I think that personality shines through. When you call,
Yeah.
you don't feel like you're talking to a hotel reservation system.
Right.
Not that that is a bad thing, but you and I were talking earlier about, people staying at a hotel for one night versus coming on vacation. It's the same thing when they talk to somebody on the phone. They aren't doing it's not a business
Right.
transaction as much as it is an emotional, payout. And so
It is.
they're wanting to talk to somebody that's friendly. They're renting a home for a reason. They don't want to think it's Uncle Greg's cabin that's messy, but they want to know that it's a cared for home that somebody live is involved with. So our team is really good at being, extremely friendly, even in written communication, the way our documents are sent out to them, the way we talk to them on the phone. We use texting a lot, and it's friendly texting. It's not it's not like a automated. It is automated sometimes, but it doesn't feel automated.
Yeah.
So just and we have a mix back and forth of it, but very much that personality coming through, I think, makes a huge difference. We've done local products in the past. We actually don't do them lately. Partly, there's various reasons. Partly because people were complaining about them during COVID and the cleanliness, and like having a specific whatever. So we provide local coffee beans, but other than that, it's not so much of a local presentation.
Yeah.
Because it was just getting too complicated with you almost got as many bad reviews about it as you did.
Oh no. Oh, that's too bad. You're trying to be nice and offer a localized thing, and then it's like how backfires.
Guests got a little weird last year. I don't know. We also check in with them the morning after they check in. They get an email overnight. We check in with them and say, hey, look, we want to make this stay perfect. If there's anything that's going to keep you from giving us a 5-star review, we want to know about it now so we can take care of it during, today, so that you can enjoy the rest of your stay and not think about it. And we do get good feedback from that a lot of times. Guests tend to check in and think that's how it is. And yet they can easily tell us, look, we got here and there was a crack in the coffee carafe, so we can't even. Well, we can go take them a new coffee maker. We would love to take them a new coffee maker. We don't want them to check out and be like, the coffee maker never worked, and give us a 3-star review because of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's really interesting because it's when we stay in hotels, I certainly don't feel as needy when I stay in a hotel because there's not much I need. But when you're going with your family or friends or a combination, hopefully, and you're staying in a vacation rental and you're on vacation, you're going to get pretty needy. Whether it's something that doesn't happen the way it does, maybe an ice maker or something goes out, or you're just looking for stuff to do and you need some help. I think that friendly kind of frame of voice can allow people to feel less sort of, they're less hesitant to reach out and say, hey, can you help me? So yeah, that's great.
And then we do follow all that up with a request for a review the morning that they check out. And I think, I think that helps too. Just like, hey, look, here, we are actually here and we do care about what your feedback is for us. And then the people even that didn't reply initially will let us know, hey, we didn't make coffee because we aren't really into it, but the coffee carafe was leaking, so you might want to fix it for the next guests. So you even get weird feedback like that. So it seems like a good process to kind of get the ball rolling in the right direction, and people give us a lot of good feedback about that. But I think it really comes down to just a mix of everything.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, you're offering unique inventory that almost has to be lived in to like figure out what's going on. Like somebody's got to be sleeping in the beds to tell you whether or not they're comfortable. Somebody's got to be making coffee before someone, sort of tells you whether that's going to work or not. Hotel room, it's a little bit easier to do because you don't need everybody sleeping on every mattress every night. But certainly in our world, that does make a big difference. Have you guys, on things like cancellation policies, have you guys noticed a difference during COVID for a need to have maybe separate cancellation policies or different cancellation policies than you've had maybe in the past due to people being, somewhat hesitant to book a property, let's say in a place like Hawaii where they're concerned about, the airline stopping flying or something like that?
Yeah, we did. Well, I mean, it all got thrown out the window because of one company. We had a cancellation policy and that just went out the window during COVID. So that was, it was neither here nor there. But we were able to, so we just kind of have told people, look, it kind of varies day by day. I'm not being very clear about this, but yes, we absolutely had a 30-day cancellation policy. We went down to like, hey, if there's a local restriction that you can't travel here because the locals won't let you come in, we'll absolutely give you your money back. It would be like if if there was a snowstorm and all the highways were blocked, we're not gonna refund you. Now, if there's snow and you came to ski, that's a whole different thing. But if all the roads are shut down, we're not gonna, and you can't get here to stay. Then we'll definitely refund you. So we've kind of like it's forced us to put in specifics more like that than we used to have, because it used to just be a hard and fast cancellation policy. Then we did actually do a master cancel program this year that was fantastic. So we were able, which helped us a lot. Every guest paid into this master cancel. It was basically like a travel insurance, but they didn't have a choice.
Oh, cool.
And that helped us a lot. We had a lot of fires in the Northwest last year, as you know. We had a lot of fires. It actually helped us through that whole process. It helped us through, well, and I should say the guests. It actually helped the guests and the owners. So helped everybody through the fall when COVID went back. We shut everything down kind of again in the fall. We had been mostly open in most areas. Everything shut down again. Guests were able to cancel for no reason up to, I think it was 24 hours before they stayed. So that got us through about February, and then I think that program was terminated. Weird.
Weird. Yeah. It does feel like, as I talk to property managers like you, we have to have a cancellation policy. Like this is not an industry for the most part where, guests can cancel the day of and get their money back, because it can't work that way.
No, they can't. And because they're going to, and then that company is going to end up out the money. Somebody's going to end up out the money. So we had a 14-day cancel. So all that being said, we were 30 days. We went through that. We had we went through the cancel for any reason. And then we had a 14-day cancellation policy until everything got opened back up. This spring, we went back to 30 days. So as of, I believe, March, we're at 30 days. Nobody's giving us any grief about it. We, occasionally they'll ask if it gets shut down because of COVID still or whatever. And we're like, you know what, if the local municipality won't let you come in, that's kind of our breaking line on it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
if you're scared of it, I'm sorry, but
if you can get here, then the house is great. You'll have a good time. Yeah, you might not be able to go to all the restaurants and all the activities because who knows what the restrictions are. But if you can't get here at all, then that's a different story. So
exactly. Keep the guests happy, right?
Yeah, exactly. in talking with you, I'm sure you've got some stories to tell about, some crazy things that have happened in your world. Care to share anything on that?
I always say I could write a book.
We do need to have, like, I can't remember which property manager it was. Somebody in Colorado used to have some pretty good Facebook posts about, random guest sayings, things that guests actually would ask them that they thought were insane. And your idea on writing a book is not too not too far-fetched.
You know what it should be, actually? This is just a thought I had right now, so maybe it would work, maybe not. But we really should make a coffee table book that we put in vacation rentals, and sort of like a tongue-in-cheek, like, if you read this and don't get it, like, if you don't think it's funny,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you might need to check out now.
Yeah. I know one. I know that same Colorado property. I think they're in, might be Peak Properties or somebody, but they're based sort of near Vail, and they had somebody coming up from Denver and said, "Hey, is there a Burger King in town?" They're like, "No, it's Vail. There's no Burger King. The closest one is down towards Denver." And the guest said, "Well, okay, thanks. We're not gonna book." And so it's like something like that would be great to laugh at.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I know. I think that same property manager also had guests that went to the wrong ski resort, or they took the wrong bus to the wrong ski resort. And then because they did that, they wanted the property manager to come pick them up at the wrong place and deliver them back to their condo. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have lists and lists, but I can't think of any today. The ones this year have been weird. They're not shareable. So let's go with someday you'll see a book come out of my
Right.
business, on a side note.
Yeah, it's interesting what we all do behind closed doors that property managers end up finding out about one way or the other.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's all good. It
Well,
keeps us
cool. Well,
going.
yeah, well, that's great. Well, do you have any parting words of wisdom for us today? Anything that, you've learned that you haven't talked about? I loved your, comments about, just really being customer centric and down to earth. I think guests really appreciate that, because they're often very confused and they need help. And so when you have that nice kind of, the great staff to talk to, it makes that process easier. What else do you think you've learned over the years that you might leave us with?
I think I learned a lot from being in Hawaii, a family that lives there. We manage a lot of homes there. Years before I even managed homes there, I was always amazed by how friendly and how much aloha spirit there really was. The guy driving the golf cart through the condo complex that was going to cut the trees for the day was so friendly, as was the housekeeper that was coming in to clean the place, where I'm thinking, isn't she going to be so annoyed that my kids are so messy and she's going to have to clean this up or whatever? Everybody just had that aloha spirit. And I think that reminded me over the years to run the business as a fun business, as opposed to being, a negative thing. I always say we aren't bill collectors. It's a really fun business. So one of our mottos, that we advertise with is happy guests, happy owners. I would go on to say that then we're happy arrived, because,
Right.
it really is. And so if you're happy in your day-to-day work and sharing these amazing homes that we have, the guests are going to be happy and the owners are going to be happy, and it's going to come full circle back to us. So have fun.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Sometimes it's hard to do. You guys are hustling 24/7, and like I've said before, you're the meat in the middle between the owner and the guest. But if you can keep that fun attitude, you can really you can make it a lot of fun and profitable too. So that's great.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks, Jen from Arrive. Appreciate your time. And everybody be sure to check out HomeToGo and check out Arrived at arrivednow.com. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.